Hello, everyone. I am Stacy Dynamke with NutritionJobs, and I am very, very delighted to be with you today to talk to you about a really, really important topic. And I think it's fantastic, and I think that you are too. And I know by the volume of people that wanted to watch this event that you're feeling the same way as I am. And the topic is how to make a big impact at work and grow your career. So joining me today is fellow dietitian, Dr. Cynthia Goody. She is the CEO and the founder of Grow a Food Career. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Stacy. Good afternoon, and greetings from the windy city of Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the cold city of San Francisco in the middle of June. So thank you so much for being here. I'm super appreciative. So you and I met at a conference, a virtual conference, and then we had a fabulous follow-up conversation about your incredible career in corporate nutrition, doing something very non-traditional, but very big. And in your big wig corporate job, you had the opportunity to make a really big impact, both at work in your actual office but also on the food industry as a whole. So I selfishly wanted to bring you on today to have you share your experience and your expertise with our NutritionJobs community. But before I get the juicy details about how you work as a dietitian and professional, I would love for you to share with our audience your career background as a dietitian and how you got involved in leadership roles and making an impact at work. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and thanks again for the opportunity. And hello, everyone. Really, when I think about our careers as dietitians and my own, I think about how important it is through our training, how we've learned to facilitate behavior change through the translation of scientific information, nutrition, to teach people how to take care of themselves. And over time, I parlayed kind of that notion, that vision, mission as a part of academia, healthcare, specifically as a diabetes care and educator, as well as a bariatrics practitioner, and most recently in business and industry, not only as a retail dietitian, but a corporate dietitian with a Fortune 100 company. I think when I think about the course of my career, the pearls of wisdoms that I would love to think about are, and extend to this group of esteemed dietitian nutritionists, is the importance of integrity. And I made a career on integrity. I mean, I wasn't the smartest person in the class. I was right there in the middle, and above the middle, I should say. And I would always raise my hand for those scary, audacious, somewhat risky projects, or the messy projects that nobody else wanted to do, whether it was through my coursework or through my formal employment. And I took it as an opportunity to learn from a technical expertise standpoint, also from a leadership skills development. So there's really two pieces when you think about your own career and how you can make an impact with people's food and drink every day, is your subject matter expertise as a registered dietitian nutritionist and your leadership skills, whether that's through communication. And I've used up my allotted words here in the last 30 seconds. So go ahead, Stacy.
I was going to pop back into, so there was two things that sort of struck me that I thought was interesting. You talked about integrity, but then you also talked about how you sort of stepped up, how you took those projects or those projects, I guess, that needed to happen, and you were the person to say, yes, I can do that. Tell us a little bit more about when you talk about integrity. Tell us a little bit more about that. How can we show up at work with more integrity, and why would somebody want to show up with more integrity in the first place, I guess? Tell me about that.
Here's the story. So I've changed my career 3 times, from academia to healthcare to business and industry. And while I was working at the University of Cincinnati, not only was I doing research and teaching undergraduate and graduate students, I was also practicing part-time. And through that experience as a diabetes educator, I sought out opportunities to be involved with the diabetes care and education practice group and the DCE.
Oh, yeah.
And I volunteered to be an author for articles. And it took me a little while to get my foot in the door, so to speak, to be a part of that esteemed writing group. And because for a variety of reasons, because most people were practitioners. I was an academician practicing part-time. So through, a series of cold calls and submitting writing samples, I ended up serving for 6 years as an author and an editor of their newsletters. I find myself then in working as a retail dietitian, and I was approached by the Diabetes Care and Education Practice Group leadership to lead a massive project around cultural food practices. And I said, hey, I'm practicing as a retail dietitian in Iowa. I'm talking about different types of food. I'm not really practicing diabetes anymore. And the leadership said, you know what, you've demonstrated to us over the course of many years that you can deliver both in form and content. And we think that you'd be an excellent project manager, along with Lorena Drago, who is an esteemed diabetes educator in the New York metro area. And over the course of 18 months, we pulled together 30 contributors, and we authored and co-edited a book around 15 cultures impacted by diabetes. So when I think about that, the two core competencies were making sure that your actions, deeds, and words always match, and that you're taking on a project that is outside the scope of your expertise that really nobody else wants to take on, but you're like, okay, sure, I'll figure it out. And having the confidence in yourself to say, yeah, I'll figure that out. It's somewhere in my dietetics toolbox.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very curious and you're very motivated. You've got a lot of drive, and just being able to raise your hand to do something or have something that you're looking at out in the future that you want to get involved with, and just raise your hand to make that happen. It's so funny because these conversations often go in two different directions. People often are like, don't take on too much stuff, just say no. And then there's this other perspective of, gosh, if you really want to make an impact, you kind of have to jump in a little bit more, not to like be working, 16-hour days, but just to sort of get in there and do what it is that you want to do. And so tell us more about how does that feel then to not overload yourself, with too many projects and getting too involved?
Froze up there for just a moment, but let me just build on the curious and the ambition. They're both independent, but boy, when they come together, they're incredibly powerful. And if you think about what your own ambitions are, as well as their origins, then let that propel you forward. I'm a lifelong learner, have always been curious about cultures and food and how people make meaning of it, and always striving to do the different thing to make an impact on people.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. That's super interesting. All right, so let's dive into the whole topic is about how to make an impact at work, and maybe you could just give us sort of step back a little bit, and it might seem sort of obvious, but maybe just to spell it out for everybody, like, why do we even want to make an impact at work? And I know that there's a lot of nuances to this, but maybe just share why we want to be making an impact at work.
Before I answer the why, I encourage everyone to be confident and find strength in your convictions. When we think about when 70% of the US population is defined by the CDC as being either overweight or obese. That's adults. And then you think about the impact that that's already having on children, with 20%, almost 20% of people under the age of 19 as being defined as either overweight or obese. So we have a lot to bring and a lot to translate right now. So think about your confidence. What gives you confidence in what it is you do? I'm a very practical, applied person. List out your successes that you've had over the last 10 to 15 years. And from there, that should give you ample runway to feel confident so that you can fly and also be unapologetic. Well, the reason why we really want to, make an impact at work and making work for us is this is an opportunity for you to pitch something, pitch an idea, essentially yourself, and then raising your hand once again to bring it to life. When you're wanting to make when you're wanting to, make an impact, it helps you to form coalitions. It makes it easier for you to have harder conversation. It showcases your capabilities more so than your successes. Think about that for a moment, because that's what go ahead.
Tell me a little bit about when you say coalitions. What do you mean by that?
When I think about, we think about working, integrated medicine. When I think about it in a clinical setting, in a business setting, or even academic setting, you're working cross-functionally with other subject matter expertise to create something of grand importance, whether it's for clients, customers, patients, or students. I mean, I can think about a time working in retail and collaborating with all of the around, the periphery of the grocery store managers, from produce to bakery to meat to seafood and dairy, and taking all of their expertise and having it culminate in some sort of programming for children. So when you think about, who are the people that have shared values and who are striving for a very similar goal, in this case, it was increasing people's awareness of certain menu or certain food products, but as well as growing sales in each one of those departments. So
I love that idea that you can collaborate or have these coalitions with people. And I sort of think about having allies at work, having, whether that ally is your boss or your grand boss or some of your fellow peers. I always think of like Survivor, right? Like you want to create some allies so that you can move forward as a group. Maybe not have one person come out as the single winner, but that you can move forward as a group, or that you can be heard. You can have some sort of backing behind you. And like you said, just like, the bottom line is to promote the business, is to, promote both your leadership, but also the business in general. And I think that's a very attractive for an employer or your boss or whatever it is, that, that you're thinking about the business, but that you're also a reliable person, someone that they can call upon, someone that they can really know that, a job's going to get done. I think having those allies is really helpful. You helped, identify that. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about strategy. We sort of talked about big pictures, but talking about strategies to make an impact at work. So you talked about having some collaborations or people that you're aligned with, that being super helpful. Tell me some other strategies that we can implement today, tomorrow at work, that can really have us make a big impact at work with our boss, with our coworkers.
Showing up at work means going beyond what's required as outlined in the job description. And it doesn't have to, going beyond where you think, oh my gosh, that's going to have to be something ginormous and never been done before. No, not really. It's tweaking around the edges to see how you, with your strengths and talents, can improve a current deliverable. The example is, as, chief nutritionist, dietitian for the McDonald's Corporation, I was in charge in developing a nutrition strategy, a team, and establishing regulatory compliance, all within the sphere of food and nutrition. However, because I had established coalitions, had a successful track record in working with cross-functional teams, I was tapped to lead a multi-million-dollar project to remove artificial preservatives from a number of McDonald's core equities. And I was not an expert in food ingredients. Yes, I have, a diploma, 2 diplomas conferring that I am a food scientist, and I've taken a test. But my practice is in dietetics and nutrition. I have that basis of medical nutrition therapy, the assessment, plan, implement, evaluate, the subjective, objective, assess, and plan. I still have all of those clinical skills as part of my set. It's like riding bicycle. It never goes away, and they're transferable. So you think about what your transferable skills are. There's benefits to going beyond, understanding not only your subject matter expertise, but how it can translate to in different ways. Helping in a pinch. If somebody needs you to step in and deliver a program, teach a class, that's a way to showcase not only your communication skills, but your teammate skills, and just overall leadership. Perhaps you like to plan ahead, like most of us do who are in this profession. And we are really, whether we realize it or not, we are really good at contingent planning, thinking through scenarios A, B, and C. And oh, by the way, if you work with attorneys or nurses or other pharmacists or healthcare practitioners in your group, I love it because you're already anticipating issues. My career formula has focused on anticipating issues, taking actions to either evolve or improve a situation. That's what we do at the core of our training through community nutrition, clinical nutrition, and food service, is taking action, evolving, or improving a situation where, whether it's a person's health, whether it's programming through WIC, we're already anticipating how we can help. It's who we are.
All right, I'm going to summarize. So having your expertise, planning ahead, showing up. I'm going to talk more about showing up, anticipating issues, and then confidence, which you alluded to before as well. Having that. Those sound like some really good strategies to sort of have as a mindset going into a situation. What was interesting is just showing up. I like that one, and how you approach a task. I'm thinking back to media dietitians who are working with brands, maybe as a brand ambassador or just on a media campaign. And let's say the deliverable is, due on July 1st, and they will try to meet that or beat that deadline. And I think that's an idea of how to be reliable, how to show up, and to really make the person who's paying you or whose business you're promoting is feeling comfortable that you're going to be making an impact and that you're actually following through with the work. So I like that idea of anticipating issues and sort of being, proactive instead of reactive. Any other strategies that sort of mindset ideas that we could think about?
I'm a big fan of under promise and over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm, currently as a part of Grow Food career, in addition to coaching people individually, as well as with small restaurant businesses that are emerging brands in the landscape with a focus on health and nutrition and eating more produce. There's the initial deliverable. And then I always ask myself, what are the 1, 2, 3 things that I can add? I took on an assignment to create a strategy for an emerging brand. And then people came along like, hey, can you provide some leadership coaching on XYZ? And so I talked with them about the difference between having a mentor, an advocate, and a sponsor, as well as coalition building inside of the organization, as well as external to the organization in the community with individual. And then that parlayed into some other thoughts around job descriptions. So I ended up some pro bono, writing some job descriptions.
But that sounds like it was really helpful for the company, like, right? Like it just showed that you can provide so much impact. You can provide so much for this person, and they're going to want to come back and work with you again and again, because I love the idea of like under promise. So you say that I'm going to be able to provide X, but in reality, maybe you had in the back of your mind that you can provide X plus 1 or 2 all along. And that just makes them feel like they're really getting great bang for their buck. So it's not like you're working extra. You already had that sort of allotted in your mind, or we're okay with that. And I like that. I think that's a great mindset and actual practical strategy to implement. Any other strategies we haven't covered that you want to take on?
You know, what's underpinning all of this curiosity, ambition, and just giving is selfishly, these are all things that I love to do and have loved doing since I was a child.
Oh, yeah.
Like reading and writing and learning. So really paying really close attention to what it is you want to do rather than the have to do.
Right. I like that. So I was going to switch gears, and this was something that struck me after our conversation, or when we had our conversation after the event. You had mentioned something about this networking technique that you have, and I found it fascinating. And I know that other people will find this fascinating as well. And I'm going to preface this that you don't describe yourself as an extrovert, somebody who's out there all the time, like making friends and trying to get out there just a lot. You're very measured, and as you describe yourself as an introvert, but yet you are a networking genius. Would you mind just sharing with everybody how you network as someone who doesn't necessarily feel like an extrovert, or would maybe identify as an introvert? I think a lot of us might be in that same category. Share with us your technique.
I have to be completely honest. It must be so much a part of me that I don't even know what I'm doing.
I'll tell you what it was. So you had said in this meeting, you had said that you make it a habit to try to meet somebody new every week, or more often if not, but at least every week you try to have a conversation with somebody, not just like a instant message or a DM, a little brief thing that's very forgettable, but that you actually like to pick up the phone, have a conversation with somebody that you think that you can have this collaboration with, or an alignment with ideas that maybe, who knows where that will go. And that's exactly how we met. As we were on this virtual conference, I sent a LinkedIn invitation to you and sent a note to you, or an email or something to you. And everybody, that's what you should always do with everybody, both myself and with Dr. Cynthia. But I did that. And then you followed up and gave me a phone call, like literally afterwards. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be her one networking person this week. And we had a wonderful conversation. So I think the idea of, make it impactful, have a nice dialogue with somebody, and just to see what everyone's up to. It doesn't have to be a long one. It could just be a 10-minute conversation. You can preface it with a note ahead of time so that you're not surprising somebody, but because phone calls are sort of surprising these days. But to, just have a chat and see, like, is there a way that we can work together? How can I promote your work? I always offer that because I've got a very big platform with our NutritionJobs community. And how can I share the word? How can I share more information for everybody? So I think that you're very good at that. And I want to share that with our community so that all of us can have that confidence to reach out. It doesn't have to be, 7 days a week, or you don't even need to keep a spreadsheet on all the people you connected with. But I think it's really great practice. And it was a great reminder to be able to connect with people and see how we can help each other. This is all this is about, how people can build, all of us dietitians, to build up each other so that we can lift that whole profession as dietitians. And whether that means making more money, whether that means having a greater impact at work, whether it's volunteer work or whether it's paid work, it's all sort of interrelated. And I think you've been able to share that very, very well. So I appreciate that. So can you tell us now? So you've transitioned, and you are in another area now. Let me see if I can share my screen again. And you are in an area that I find super interesting. Let me share my screen, and how you can help other people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your new business?
Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about this, and just talking about just speaking about networking at large. I like to think of it as connecting. When I think about networking, I think about there's a beverage in your hand and you're really, really hungry, but you can't balance both a plate and a beverage in your hand. And I prefer to connect with people via a variety of ways, whether it be through email or connecting through a screen or in person or even an old school call. About 18 months ago, I founded, hi, Justice. That's so nice. That's so nice. Thanks. I think that's for Stacy. That's awesome. I appreciate your comments. About 18 months ago, I decided to launch Grow Food Career. And it was based on the notion, to whom much has been given, much has been expected in return. As a first generation college graduate, I had to figure out a lot of stuff along the way. And when I transitioned from rural Iowa to the Windy City, from Iowa to go to the Peace Corps, I had to ask a lot of questions. And there were people around me, so I was connecting with people to build my path so that I could make an impact on people. Therefore, have created Grow a Food Career for people who might be at the beginning, the middle, or closer to the end of their career. And, I think that, what I would like to share with this group is that I served McDonald's for 15 years, and the time had come to depart. And so I departed 2 months ago, and nutrition remains in the form of ESG, globally, environmental, societal, and governance related, as well as regulatory compliance. So right now, I'm looking forward to serving others with Grow a Food Career that focuses on the acronym of GROW. And the basis of growing a food career is rooted in gratitude. When you have gratitude, it gets you through the R, which is focused on resilience. How well do you spring back after kind of those humbling moments, shall we say, failure or loss? We've all experienced it. So with gratitude and resilience in hand, that provides you with ample opportunities to keep moving forward, transitioning and evolving your leadership as well as your learning, that culminates ultimately in wisdom, the W in GROW.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I welcome the opportunity. You can go to growafoodcareer.com. I'm offering complimentary 30-minute coaching and mentoring sessions with people. I follow up with notes if you're particularly interested in certain jobs or other related opportunities, or leadership coaching in general, based on it would be assessment based, of course, because I wouldn't be a good dietitian if I didn't, and serving others. I think where I can be of big help after 30 years of professional employment, both domestically and internationally, I can give you more of an inside story of what it takes to be successful. Again, first person in my family, grew up on a farm in Iowa, had no idea. I've succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. Didn't always have all the money to do what was needed, but I had hustle and would often cobble together multiple jobs to make it work.
Well,
Can
I love how
also,
you can share this with everybody and how you
Mhm,
can take all this
mhm.
expertise and help mentor people and professionally mentor people into a career into food. And so there's her website, growafoodcareer.com. You can also connect with her on LinkedIn and also growafoodcareer@gmail.com. There's one question that came through. The question was about how to show up in a meeting and be heard. I think the person maybe is asking, like when you're in a big meeting, maybe this is part, going back to maybe a scarier situation where there's a lot of people that are a lot of big stakeholders, or maybe at a higher level than you are in a meeting. How do you get heard? I think that's what this person's question is. Do you have any strategies for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether you're in a high stakes situation or whether it's a routine meeting, so to speak, um, I encourage you, number one, to listen and contribute closer to either the end of the middle of the meeting or towards the end.
Oh, I like that. You guys, that is really good.
Because people often recall what they hear at the beginning and at the end, and often tune out in the middle.
I like that. Or maybe if you speak too early on, you're right, people are not going to remember what you say, but maybe you don't have all the information that you need. I think I'm thinking of a job interview, and you start diving into salary negotiation way too early before you know anything about the position and what leverage you might have later on. So I love that idea, that sort of wait to the towards the end, or 80% or 100% of the meeting being over, to make your contribution.
And adding something that's relevant that hasn't already been suggested, adding
Right.
something that helps evolve the idea or improve the idea.
Yeah.
And you can, and then what you're also able to do, you can, as you're listening, you can say, as Stacy mentioned earlier, curiosity is important. So you're giving kudos to the person who suggested the idea, and then you want to add to it, because not only are you displaying your leadership skills in listening, but you're also bringing something to evolve or improve the idea.
Well, you might also be making this coalition, like you said. I used to work with a large number of healthcare workers in this research group, and we had a lot of people. Some were difficult, some were easy to work with. And I always felt like the one way you could create this alliance is to compliment somebody on their idea, compliment somebody on something they had done, a project they had done. And thanks to this person's really great work, now we can add these other biometric indices to this, the research outcome, or something like that. And you could just see that other person light up on the other side. It also makes you look more of a group or a team player, rather than a person working in silo by themselves, trying to get ahead and move everybody out of the way. Like, it's really a simple technique to create and foster this great relationship with your team in everybody's eyes. I like that idea.
I also like your idea, Stacy, and making sure that you're addressing the person by name when you acknowledge them. Instead of saying, I like your idea, Stacy, because it reinforces for the people who are in the room, like, oh, like, bing,
Right. It
like
makes
there's
you
like a
feel
gold
good.
star above your head, number one. And number two, you're offering either new information, novel information, or information that can be next,
I like
like
that.
as a next step. And I like to use alliterations, like words that have the same sound. New, next, novel. It gets people listening. It's easier to remember and it's easier to repeat.
That's a good idea. It's very Dr. Seussish. I like that. That's very
Oh,
good. That's very
never
good.
thought about that.
Oh my gosh, Dr.
Who-
Cynthia, this has been fantastic. I think we've learned a lot of really practical things, but also mindset techniques that I think can really have us have a great impact at work as dietitians to then elevate the entire profession. I really appreciate your words. Everybody, this is how you can connect with Dr. Cynthia Goody, a wonderful resource for us as dietitians. And I'm just very thankful for you being able, I'm going to show your website again. People can see that one too, so that they can find you there too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let me see if there was any more. I think that was it for the questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Cynthia.
you.
This was really great.
Grateful. Let's keep
Yeah.
growing.
Let's keep growing. I love that. Okay, everybody, my little closing words. So don't forget, I've got lots of fabulous courses over on NutritionJobs.com where you can look at how you can create a resume template. I've got how to build a standout LinkedIn profile. I've got one coming in the works. It's on company pages and how to do lead generation for building out your business. Of course, I've got the resume essentials, and I've got the workshop, and I've got the other one that's really great on how to master the job interview so that you can come out ahead. And these are the resume templates, and you can always follow us on YouTube as well as NutritionJobs.com. We've got lots of educational tutorials. Please subscribe and hit the little bell when we do add another tutorial onto the YouTube channel. This one will be living in here very soon as well. I really appreciate that. And always connect with me on LinkedIn. You guys are already connected with me, but I just want to put that out there. And thank you so much today for your participation. Love everything about our community, and it's really great. Thank you, and everybody, really appreciate it. All right, everybody, bye for now.
Okay.
Okay, if I can unmute, here we go. It won't let me, there we go. All right, this is the official bye.
Goodbye. It was fun.